Can I please have New York City Fire Department Chaplain Reverend Ann Kansfield join me, please? In the spring of 2015, Reverend Kansfield fulfilled a long-time dream when New York Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro swore her in as chaplain of the New York City Fire Department. She is the first female chaplain and the first openly gay chaplain in a department that for decades resisted efforts to diversify in its ranks. Reverend Kansfield works at Greenpoint Church in Brooklyn, New York. Her role in the church includes worship, evangelism, theology, improving the church's building, public and community relations, and fundraising. She loves God and enjoys people. And what I was told, no joke, she's a hyper extrovert. Reverend Kansfield holds a BA with honors from Columbia University and a Master of Divinity from New Brunswick Theological Seminary. She maintains that the 4-week-long bartending course that she took in college really taught her how to be a pastor. Her first foray into sharing the gospel occurred at age 4, when without asking permission, she rode her big wheel around the neighborhood, inviting everyone to Easter worship, followed by dinner at her parents' house. Her parents were surprised to learn all about this on the Saturday evening before Easter, but it all worked out okay. Chaplain Kansfield.
I think of my role as a chaplain to be about inspiring our members in the FDNY to become the people that they were created to be. Authentic, courageous people of integrity. Chaplains, we pray, we bless, we counsel, we console. In all this, we seek to connect people with a power greater than themselves. Some might call this power God, so that they are equipped for living with themselves and with others. So it might seem a bit odd for me to share with you that more than any other member of the FDNY, it's Fire Marshal Trip Zanetis who has most inspired me to be more of the person I believe God created me to be. And I know countless other people who feel very similarly about the impact that Trip has had on their lives. Trip was smart and fearless and proud. Proud of his country, proud of his city, proud of himself as an American and as a gay man. Trip did not exactly fit the stereotype of a New York City firefighter. First, I mentioned he was smart. Now, for the record, I would like to say that I believe all New York City firefighters are actually very smart. If you have a problem, they will find a solution. Trip, though, found his solutions in a book-smart kind of way. He was really, really smart. I listened to many members of his company tell me about how they watched in awe as Trip studied for various tests, whether it was a promotional test in the department or in the military. "He was a genius," one guy said. "I couldn't believe it. He'd take the best notes, and he'd only have to read them once." While others might have shied away from showing this kind of intellect, Trip certainly didn't. And it inspired the people around him to study harder, or just to study. Now, the FDNY may have a reputation as a bastion of macho straight guys. But in his death, I think Trip helped our department and certainly me, see that we are far more diverse and inclusive than some, even we, might have thought. Tripp had requested that should he die, his wake be held at a gay club. I will admit, as the chaplain, I have never attended an FDNY wake at a club, let alone a gay club. The members of his company showed up in force wearing the memorial t-shirts that they had designed. Unlike the usual unfashionable beefy tees, you know which ones I'm talking about, the boxy, kind of stiff. These guys showed up in form-fitting, soft cotton t-shirts. It was amazing. Skin tight. And let me just say, they all fit in, if you know what I mean. It's amazing how good looking men can be in a form-fitting, soft cotton t-shirt. He brought the gospel of a good t-shirt into the FDNY. Now, before that, I thought I was pretty comfortable about being honest about being gay around my fire department colleagues. Tripp helped me to see I had been foolish and that I didn't know how long I had to go myself. Because in his death, Tripp was a chaplain to me. He helped me grow in my ability to be authentic and courageous and to live with greater integrity. He helped me to learn to love myself and to see that my colleagues would love me just as much as they loved Tripp. It was a gift that I didn't know that I needed. We have heard of other fallen heroes who were not allowed to be their true selves. Tripp helped me see that the fire department of the city of New York does treat us all equally and with deep respect. And I give you thanks for helping me to see that. Now, you would think that being book smart and gay would probably be the most significant way that Tripp might not have fit in as a stereotypical firefighter in the city of New York. But actually, there's an even bigger thing out there. Tripp was also a very committed religious atheist. Gasp! While this might be totally accepted in New York, I mean, I'm a pastor in New York. I can hardly get anybody to go to church these days. Let me tell you, it is not admitted within the fire department. As the chaplain assigned to Tripp's plaque dedication, I wanted to find a way to honor this. And I acknowledged his atheism as we held a moment of silence in his memory. I did not anticipate the response of his colleagues because afterwards, so many members of the department came up to thank me for this. They too considered themselves atheists, but hadn't believed that it was possible to acknowledge it publicly. Tripp provided them with a role model, someone who showed them what was possible for them as well. Someone who helped them see that they are never alone and that they belong just as much as everyone else. And so I am here today on behalf of all of the members of the fire department of the city of New York to say thank you, Tripp Zanetis. Thank you for being our role model.
Thank you, Chaplain Kansfield. Can I please have Lieutenant Erick join me on stage? He will be telling us a little more information about Trip. Lieutenant Pound grew up in Colorado and joined the Air Force after graduating from high school. Erick served 4.5 years on active duty, spanning the attacks of 9/11 and the subsequent deployments. He separated from the service in 2004 and moved to New York, where he was hired as a firefighter with FDNY in March of 2005. He met Trip shortly after he joined the Air National Guard in 2007. Trip and Erick were deployed together in 2012 to 2013 to Camp Bastan, Helmand Province, Afghanistan, during a time of intense fighting. Deploying to Africa in the summer of 2015 gave Erick ample time to study for the FDNY lieutenant's test. Erick was promoted to lieutenant in the fall of 2016. Erick's most recent deployment was with Trip to Iraq in the spring of 18. He continues to be an active member of the New York Air National Guard and the New York Fire Department.
Two quick administrative notes. I'm not often behind microphones, so you have to give me a little bit of break on that. In fact, I'm rarely actually let out in public. So, and the second thing is, if Scott, if you could do me a favor, next time you're going to invite Reverend, just if I could go first, so I don't have to follow that out. Great. Just thank you very much, John, Sarah, Jean, for asking me to share a little bit about Trip. This is quite a big honor for me. Thank you to the LGBT Fallen Heroes for organizing this and taking such good care of Trip's family. That really does mean the world to us. And lastly, thank you all for coming. Obviously, no organization, no event works unless people come. So thank you all for coming and making this a special event. On to Trip. Trip grew up in Carmel, Indiana, decided that he wanted a taste of the big city, so moved to New York to attend NYU, where he graduated cum laude, while simultaneously holding the office of student body president. During 9/11, he was living about 3 blocks away from Ground Zero. That afternoon, he went down to Ground Zero and worked till all hours of the night, providing any sort of assistance he could. Joined the FDNY not long after, 2004, eventually promoted to the rank of fire marshal. After traveling overseas to get eye surgery to make him eligible for the Air Force, in 2008 he took a job flying rescue helicopters for the New York Air National Guard, where I was lucky enough to meet him. During that time when he went to OTS, he was awarded 2 things. One is the Honor Graduate Award, and the second, which he talked about almost nonstop, was the award that is presented by the enlisted instructors to the person they think best embodies the idea of leadership. And believe me when I say he talked about it nonstop. He said many times that that was his favorite award, and he cherished it very dearly. Not content with that, he decided to join Stanford out west and go to law school. During his law school time, he also completed a high-level NATO internship. He was a lover of pomp and circumstance. He had a flair for the dramatic, but more than anything, he loved his dog, Nix. And he treated Nix like the member of the family that she is. At different points in my life, I've been his travel partner, his roommate, crew members, but since I've known him, we've been brothers. And I think John, his father, told me that he was a man always on a mission. But Trip was never content to raise his own abilities. Being good wasn't enough for him. He lived his entire life to raise the level of the sea. He wanted the entire organization to be as good as he was, constantly searching out new opportunities for training. I asked the squadron to send me some words that they thought best embodied Trip. So I asked for a single word. And in all honesty, I thought that what was going to happen was that was going to be the basis for a joke here. But guys were actually pretty thoughtful in it all, which was rather surprising to me. They said such things as exemplary, inspirational, supernatural, forthright, principled, driven, stately, and unrelenting. And there are probably some people that would argue he was painfully unrelenting. Tripp never came out to the squadron as a whole. Not that he didn't think he could, but he just didn't think it much mattered. We knew Tripp for who he was, and that was enough. Now, don't get me wrong, if somebody asked him, he had no problem telling them that he was gay. To this day, I don't know that anybody has actually asked him. In fact, I might be the only person who's actually confirmed it. Again, I don't know that entirely. But so after Afghanistan, we decided we were going to take a trip together. And we were sitting in a cafe, sort of working out the details of the trip, looking at flights, getting ready to book them. And I was like, oh yeah, I found this one. Like, I'll meet you there. Tripp looked at me and said, hey, before you book that, we need to talk about something. And I said, okay. He said, I don't travel with anyone unless they know my sexual preference. And I just looked at him and I said, yeah, that's great, but this airfare is going up, so we need to just do this. And I in no way, I was debating whether or not to even tell you that story, and I didn't mean it to be dismissive in any way, shape, or form. But to me, it didn't matter. Absolutely did not matter. I knew who Tripp was, and that was enough for me. During our time in Afghanistan, we were crewed with 3 additional members, well, I guess 2 additional to him and I. So the entire air crew was 4 FDNY members. And again, something that Tripp would talk about almost ad nauseum when he got back. But I think it embodies who Tripp was. Tripp was hardwired to serve. That's why he went down there on 9/11. That's why he joined the Guard. It's why he joined the fire department. And it's ultimately why he went to Stanford, working on the Innocence Project, offering pro bono legal work for the Iraqi Refugee Assistance Program. It's just what Tripp did, and he wouldn't have it any other way. So in addition to Tripp, we lost 6 additional members that night. And they were going out to put themselves in harm's way to rescue wounded American military members. They really were living out the rescue motto that others may live. Thank you.
Along with Chaplain Kansfield and Lieutenant Pound, joining us today is Tripp's boyfriend, John, his parents, Sarah and John, Uncle Bill, New York Fire Department Assistant Chief Fire Marshal Michael Durkin, Fire Marshal Phil Paulette, Captain Jin Kong, and fellow members of the military and friends.